All right.
All right. So Mike, welcome to and apologize again for that night not giving you that opportunity. But welcome to the Housing and Human Services funding hearings. We may get some board members that show up a little late. It's just, it's crazy at 5:30 going to get folks. But I will introduce our current board member that's here. Here, Martha's coming on. Brenda, if you want to let her in. So that would be great. And just do some housekeeping real quick, just because we want to get going here. And then the way it's going to work is you're going to have 10 minutes of Q&A from the board, and then if it takes a little bit longer, you'll have less than. Usually we try and give you 5 minutes for you to share, but we'll see how much time that goes. Again, this is a public hearing, so it's being recorded and will be on our City of Longmont's YouTube channel, as they all are. And I'm going to introduce the board real quick and then give you a chance to introduce yourself. And then I will start the timer for 10 minutes of Q&A, and we'll get going.
Great.
All right, so let me start with introducing the board. I'll start on my bottom right, and on my bottom right, I got Crystal, but she's still signing on. So Martha, why don't you go first?
Hi there, Martha Wilson. This is my first year on the board. I am recovering from COVID, so my voice goes in and out.
Oh gosh.
I won't spread it.
Yeah, Alejandro, why don't you talk about your sickness, because you're another sick board member tonight.
It's floating around. I got the cold, so I'm sorry about if I'm hoarse or if I go off. Alejandro Prieto, this is my first year on the board. Good evening.
Awesome. Crystal, are you on?
I'm on. Hi, my name is Crystal Prieto. I am also this is my first term on the board. It's a pleasure to meet you.
All right, great. And me, Liberto Mendoza, project coordinator. Our human services director was planning to be here, but she actually was double booked and had another meeting tonight, so she couldn't make it. She's pretty busy. So I want to introduce. And then there's Brenda Palacios. You can't see her, but she's the one that handles all of the magic in the background that gets everybody scheduled and all that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start the timer. Oh wait, sorry, Mike. Go ahead, introduce yourself real quick.
Good, thank you. Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me tonight. I am Mike Anderson, and I'm the executive director at Rocky Mountain Legal Center, which I started back in 2010 and have been there ever since.
Awesome. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and start with a 10-minute 10-minute time for questions and answers. If any of the board members have questions, if not, I can get us started. So Mike, my first question, because I was, one of the first questions on the applications talks about strategic plans and strategic goals, and what we want to know. So I saw some good stuff about what you're trying to do as far as they provide these type of services, but I'd love to know, you're a small agency. I looked at your budget. So it's a small agency. What is there? Are there strategic plans around growing the agency, and then in particular around that? I know you serve Longmont folks. Is there any thoughts about growing into Longmont more? So because you're applying to the Longmont Human Services Fund. So yeah, I just want to hear a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah, our organization grows exponentially every year. The amount of clients we serve, the amount of people we talk to, the amount of people we give direct free legal services goes up every year for the last 13 years. And a vast majority of those clients that we do work for are Longmont residents. We keep very detailed demographic charts of all of the people we serve. And so far in 2023, we've helped 112 Longmont residents, low-income Longmont residents, with anywhere from 2 to 4 hours of free legal services. It came out to 246 hours of free legal services. So if you do the math on that, the lowest attorney rate you're going to find anywhere is $200 an hour. So that's approximately a $50,000 value to the community that we do every year and have been doing every year since 2010.
Okay. So, speaking of that, about your services, so can you talk? So we've interviewed. You're the third legal center, or fourth actually, the fourth legal agency that we've interviewed in this cycle. We've interviewed Colorado Legal Services. We've interviewed Bridge to Justice, and we've also interviewed the Immigrant Legal Center. Can you talk to us about the differences and where there is collaboration or duplicate or concerns about duplications?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, there is a lot of collaboration. All four of us refer people to each other pretty regularly. Bridge to Justice, for example, has a lot more experience and does more work in landlord-tenant stuff. We do not. Our primary focus is in bankruptcy, estate planning, end-of-life issues, advanced medical directives, probate, and family law. And Colorado Legal Services does not provide any post-decree family law services, anything that happens after somebody's divorce. So there is a gap there that we definitely fill and get referrals from them. And I think what separates us from them, we all obviously do similar legal work to each other, but we all have our own niche. But what's different about our organization is we're always free. There's never a cost to talk to us. There's never a consultation fee. When you call us, you speak directly to me or another lawyer or one of our two paralegals, and you get immediate direct access to information. A quick real story from today that came up. A woman called me who's being sued by her neighbor in Longmont. She's an older woman. She let her son visit, and her son came into the house with a gun. The gun went off through the wall of the apartment and hit the neighbor. Fortunately, the neighbor lived and wasn't severely injured, but the neighbor is now suing this woman for negligence for allowing her son to come into the house with a gun. She's talked to 3 other attorneys, she told me today. Everybody wants a minimum of $10,000 to represent her, is telling her that she needs to take a mortgage against her house to pay for this defense. And the first question I had for her was, you own your house, you have homeowners insurance, you have liability protection, you have lawyers that will work for you. Yet these 3 other lawyers she talked to didn't give her that information. They wanted her money. And I see this all the time, and it frustrates the heck out of me. And that's one of our main focuses, and our main emphasis is we give it to people straight. We're not collecting money from anybody, and we give direct, immediate access to information. So there's no intakes. There's no waiting for a week or 2 weeks to have a lawyer appointed. There's no fees involved. Immediate access to information is really what most people need. And this lady is a great example. I spent less than 5 minutes telling her what she needed to do: contact your homeowner's insurance. And it was that easy. And I made her day, is what she told me. And she feels so much better about her situation now. And it was a simple deal that no other lawyer would give her that information.
I don't want to monopolize board if you guys have questions, but I do have other questions. So I just want to make sure that I'm not monopolizing the whole conversation. Let me know if you all have a question.
You're doing great, Aliberto. You're asking all the questions that I would ask. Keep going.
Okay, so I do have a question. So one of the things that the board has really highlighted over the last, I would say, 7 to 8 years has been diversity and equity and inclusion, in particular in leadership on the board. And I saw on your application, I mean, I'm just gonna go back, I forget, but I feel like you guys, you're decently diverse in the sense that you know, I think half of your board is diverse. It's a small board, but you have some decent diversity. But my question was, when I looked at what the board, I mean, the board has access to, but I'm not sure how much the board. I look at my job on the staff side is to look at the financials. And when I saw your 990, I saw that on your board were staff members. Can you tell me how that works?
We do have staff members, including myself, on the board. So yeah, our board is definitely not large. Board development is probably something that we could work on at the organization. But yeah, we do have 2 staff members on the board, myself included.
All right, that was just news to me. That was interesting. Okay, and then I guess the other question I had is, I see that a lot of your funding, because I wrote notes, you have, one of the things that we look at for as staff, we look at diversity of funding, and you have some diversity, but primarily your two sources are program fees and government funding. And I was just wondering, what are some of the efforts, or what are some of the thoughts about how you increase that fundraising or that contribution level, that individual donor side of the funding, the
Sure.
funding stool?
Well, we always encourage donations, and we do average about $10,000 a year through Colorado Gives Day. We have applied for numerous other grants this year. One through the United Way, one through the state of Colorado, one through the Denver Community Foundation, Boulder Community Foundation, Longmont Community Foundation, Broomfield Community Foundation. So we are actively applying for a variety of grants. We're specifically focusing on looking to get some immigration grants this year as well. We have started offering free immigration services over the last year and a half, and we're seeing a massive uptick in that work as well here in the county. And a lot of those people that we're currently representing are also Longmont residents. We've actually got 4 Longmont residents that we're seeking temporary protected status for.
Okay, Alejandro has a question, but I have a follow-up on what you just said. So go ahead, Alejandro.
It's on the same lines of what you just said. So do you work with any local agencies or organizations within Longmont? And where, I guess my question is leaning towards more the outreach portion. How does the Longmont resident know how to, or what kind of services you are offering, specifically with the immigration services?
Mm-hmm. Honestly, we don't do a lot of outreach because we don't really need to. We have more work coming in than we can really handle. That's why funding is so critical to us, so that we can continue to do more work. We definitely need to hire additional staff because of the increased work we've got coming. But we get a ton of referrals, and I should have wrote these down for tonight's meeting. But we get referrals from a variety of Longmont agencies on a regular basis. And I believe it's the Longmont Health and Human Services office that refers people to us regularly. Longmont Senior Center. I believe there's a United Way office in Longmont. We get a variety of calls from them. So I don't keep track of who exactly we get referrals from in Longmont, but we get a ton of referrals from Longmont. And again, we've helped 112 people. That does not include the hundreds of people that we have phone consultations with that we don't track. If I track that, I would put it in the 400 to 500 additional Longmont residents that we just speak to and give information to.
All right, thank you. Crystal? And this is
Hi,
our last
my
question because we technically ran out of time.
Okay. My question would be, do you serve undocumented folks, and how do you go about communicating with folks who are monolingual Spanish?
Yes, we have a immigration services coordinator that works for us that is bilingual, and the majority of the people that we're currently representing are undocumented. We're getting temporary protected status for them. We are doing a lot of DACA renewal applications. Those people are all here undocumented. And we're also now, we've done our first, we're going to see how it works out, but there's something called advanced parole, where undocumented people can leave the country with permission to return. And when they return, they're now here legally, which opens the door for all kinds of permanency, permanent residency, and future citizenship. So we just filed one of those, and one of our clients is going to take a trip out of the country and hopefully return successfully and then become a citizen because of it.
Thank you, Mike. So we've gone a little bit over. So instead of 5, I'm going to give you 4 minutes to share whatever you need. You don't have to use them all, but I'm starting the timer now. You got 4 minutes, Mike.
Okay, I appreciate that. So yeah, thanks so much for giving me the opportunity to meet everybody and talk about what we do here. One important point that I think should be made, and why this funding from Longmont is so critical. We do help so many people in Longmont, and there really is no funding that's come from Longmont over the last 13 years. This year, it's more important than ever because a big chunk of our funding over the last 7 years has come from the Area Agency on Aging. We've received $65,000 a year from them for the last 7 years. That funding is federal government funding that was cut in half this year. So our grant this year from the Area Agency on Aging is $35,000, almost half of what it normally is. So we've got a massive gap to make up there. We're going to keep doing the free legal work for all of those people, many of whom are going to be Longmont residents. But it's more important than ever that we make up that $30,000 lost income gap. So that's why this Longmont grant really would help our organization immensely.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mike, for your time. Appreciate the work that you all do. I know I've known you for a long time. You're a great guy and been doing work for a long time. So I appreciate you. All right. Have a good rest of your night.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right. We have Boulder County Public Health next, and that's the fruit and veggie program.
Just want to confirm
I'm
that's
gonna go
Rachel.
off camera just because I'm
That's fine.
starving and I need to put some food in my mouth.
Sure, no worries. Yes, that's Rachel Arndt. Please let her in. Are you trying to admit, Rachel?
Yeah, I've allowed.
here's-
Oh, there she goes.
Here she comes. All right, great.
Hello.
Hey, Rachel. Thank you for your patience. We get into some great conversations with the agency, so sometimes we go a little bit late. So thank you for your patience. Really quickly. Oh, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay,
Can
good.
you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to introduce our board members quickly and give you a chance to introduce yourself, and then we're going to go into a 10-minute Q&A, and then we will have, if there is time, we'll give you 5 minutes. If we go a little bit over, I might take a couple minutes off depending on how long we go with the question and answer. Just to let you know, this is a public meeting and it's being recorded, so it'll be on the City of Longmont YouTube page. So I'm going to start this time with my top left on my screen. So I'll go with Martha.
Hi there. My name is Martha Wilson. This is my first year on the board. I am recovering from COVID, so my voice goes in and out, but I'm glad to hear from you today.
Alejandro.
Nice to meet you.
Good evening. My name is Alejandro Prieto. This is my first year on the board.
Awesome. Crystal.
Nice to meet you.
Hello, good evening. My name is Crystal Prieto. I am a first-term board member as well. So nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
All right. So why don't you take a minute to introduce yourself, Rachel, and then we'll go straight into the question.
Sure. Thanks for having me tonight. My name is Rachel Arndt. I have worked at Boulder County Public Health for just over 13 and a half years. And my team of folks work on food security programs and housing policy work. And it's really nice to be here tonight. Thanks for considering our application.
All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and start because I have, my first question is, we already fund, or we have funded. They're applying as well, the farmers market. Can you tell me what the difference between these two programs are?
Yeah, so this fruit and veg program, participants may use the bucks that we fundraise at the farmers market, but the farmers market does not specifically fundraise for these incentives. So this program, we run a double up food bucks program in retail settings. We also at public health fund the help to fund the WIC program where there are gaps outside of the city of Longmont and outside of the city of Boulder. And we also have this fruit and veg program, which has been and is fully primarily funded through the sustainability tax. And so this program is really designed to meet the gap between federal benefit eligibility and self-sufficiency. I think as folks on this committee know, many families are ineligible for SNAP or ineligible for WIC, either because they're above the income threshold or what we see in the city of Boulder and in Longmont have mixed documentation status and are fearful of enrolling in benefits. And so for this program, we seek to address that gap and work through partner organizations, which are outlined in the application, including St. Vrain Valley School District, the community resource or the family resource folks at the schools, El Centro Amistad, their Promotores program, the statewide parent coalition, and Brújula Comunitaria. And they help us identify families that are eligible for the programs and enroll them. And we manage kind of more of the administrative pieces of the program.
Alejandro.
Thank you. So is the program only for families, or are single people also eligible to partake? And the second part of that question is if is the program only for people with permanent residency or transitional residency? I mean, not residency, but permanent housing, or can it also be used by people in transitional housing?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So we have a tiered funding model based on family size. So 1 to 2 individuals receive a different amount than 3 to 4. And in our Longmont program, we actually provide more funding for folks than we do in the city of Boulder because of the grocery retailers that we work with for our other funding priorities to make sure that families can still get adequate funding. So I think it's like I'm sorry, I'm traveling right now for work, and so I think it's 50, 100, and 150, or it might be more for 1 to 2 family households. I would need to check. It's a different model in Boulder. It's $40 and $80. So we really try to address larger families, which we know a lot of our, and also we know that individuals of like 1 to 2, it's actually more expensive per person because you can't shop at a scale that makes it more affordable. And so we try to balance both sides of the equation for the Longmont program. We do not typically work with this program with unhoused folks just because the like fruits and veggies and being able to store them and prepare them is a little bit more challenging. But if our partners have a family that they identify that needs access to this program, we leave it up to the discretion of the partner organizations, and we don't really question that. So we typically do work with organizations that serve kind of the spectrum, but we leave it up to the partners because they know the community the best. Did that answer your question? Okay.
Well, I understand the unhoused portion. That's why I was like transitional housing. So there's that sweet spot from being unhoused going through a transitional housing that's not your house, right? But still has the fridge, has the stove, has the what you need to cook.
Yeah, then those families, if they're identified through these partner organizations, would definitely be eligible. In our Boulder program, we work with an organization that helps to connect people that are just coming out of incarceration to resources. And so we try to fill the gap there in the short term when people aren't eligible for SNAP, like when they can't get their benefits right away, to help cover that gap a bit. And we work with other groups like youth housing if the youth aren't eligible for SNAP or WIC, but usually the youth are eligible. So we try to connect them to the other kind of supplementary federal benefit programs that they could stretch their food bucks with. If you have partner recommendations, I would love for you to email them if there are folks that we should be working with in Longmont.
Crystal? Oh, there's two
Sorry,
Crystals.
I'm trying to get on my computer here.
I'll give her a second to figure out the technology piece.
Okay, sorry.
No worries.
I feel like the echoing. So my question is I'm a resource navigator, and one of the biggest issues in I think our county is really making sure that all families have access to these resources. And so you talked a little bit about different organizations kind of working with you to help identify some of the families that are, I guess, most at risk and need this food. So a couple questions for you. One is, do you have like a capacity or like a max, like a limit as to the amount of families that you can serve? And also, do you work based off of a referral process?
Yeah, so this funding or this program is completely dependent on the funding that we receive. This year, we were able to supplement in Longmont with some additional ARPA funds and sustainability tax fund requests that aren't available. So we only have $200,000 for our incentives from the county. So that's why we applied through the City of Longmont to provide some additional funding. We run the program based on that budget, and then every quarter we do in-person buck distributions, and sometimes families do drop off. We work with our partner organizations to reach out multiple times, like 4 times per family, to try to get them the vouchers to be able to use. And so we have our partner organizations keep a wait list. And so as people do fall off, we enroll people on the wait list. And so it's completely dependent on our redemption rates, which are really high. They're over 90%. And that really, I think it's probably one of the highest in the country in terms of these types of programs. And it really shows us that people need the program, that they're using it. They're using almost all of the coupons that they're receiving. And then we run the program really lean with staff at the county. And so we do rely on partner organizations that are mission aligned to help find the families. So like in the schools, when they hear that families are experiencing any sort of food insecurity and they don't have WIC or SNAP, we have a really easy enrollment form that's used. Same thing with Amistad. We work with them in Boulder as well. And the other organizations, and each of the partners get kind of like a number of participants that they can enroll in the program, but it's really just that paper enrollment. It's very low barrier, and we would be open to working with other folks. Yeah.
So that brings, so you talk about the funding, and that actually brings me to one of the concerns I do have about this application, is when I look at your program budget, there's only really 2 sources of funding for it. It's either the sustainability tax and us, and I don't see a lot of other community support for the program. I don't see foundations, I don't see individual donors, and that's a little concerning, because we want to make sure that the program is has that community support as well. I'm sure community members are using it, but is the community supporting it?
Yeah,
so is there any...
I can't speak for Amis. I can tell you things that Amistad has said to me directly. They Jorge has said to me, and Ana, the lead promotora, that this is the most impactful program that they participate in. I think, as you can imagine, a program that's primarily addressing mixed or undocumented families is very challenging to fundraise for. And so we have to be very for us, it is very creative in how we fund. So the sustainability tax doesn't have any restrictions. We didn't have restrictions with ARPA. So I did use ARPA funds for these programs, but there's not much county funding left. I haven't reached out to the foundations because these programs were getting off the ground. And in my conversations, there's not interest in a long-term investment. I don't know if you've had a different approach, but if there's not interest in a long-term commitment, I don't want to scale up a program for sustainability if I'm not going to be able to offer it at a certain level in an ongoing way. So this year we are trying to diversify and get some of the funding for this Longmont specific program from the city as a contribution.
Okay, so our time is up. I will give you your 5 minutes to, if you want to share anything else. You don't have to take them all, but I'll give you your 5 minutes to share whatever you want to share.
Sure. I think it's probably in the application, but we do have really good metrics for this program. We do survey folks quite often. We talk to them through our partners via focus groups. And we know that price is the #1 reason that families aren't eating fruits and vegetables. And we know that the cost of food has gone up. I've heard from all of the pantry partners, I'm sure that you all have as well, that they are really struggling with the high cost of food and that they are they're unable to provide the same quantity that they have in the past. And so we really see that these programs are important for hunger and for healthy eating. And we work through community partners to deliver the service. Over 95% of the families enrolled in the Longmont specific program are Latino, and most of them, I think over 85%, are really low income, 30% AMI. So we think it's a great program. We're going to continue funding it ourselves. I'm just looking for additional resources so that we can meet the gap and fund other participants. And this funding is not for personnel. It's not for operating. It's for the food. Like, I'm not asking for that. I did negotiate a 10% indirect rate, which is as low as we can go at public health. But none of the funding is going to be going even for the printing or anything. We're going to be using the money for food. So that's what your contribution would go towards, giving people dignity and choice in where they shop.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a good rest of your night. Have a good trip wherever you are and with work, and have a safe trip back.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Rachel.
All right. Take care. Bye.
All right. Now, Alejandro, you are this one. I looked. You already evaluated this one, but you can go back and change it depending on how this goes. But the last group for tonight is Hover Home, I think it's called, or Hover. Yes. Hover Senior Living. Yes. Hey, we got a couple of folks. Hello. Oh, more than a couple of folks. We got 3 folks. Okay. Well, welcome. We can't hear you. Can you unmute yourselves?
How's that?
Oh, better. Way better. All right. So welcome tonight. Thank you for being here. So what we're going to do tonight is I'm going to introduce the board members in a second, and then I'm going to let you all introduce yourselves as quickly as possible. And then we're going to have a 10-minute question and answer session for the board to ask you questions about your application. And then we will, we want to give you 5 minutes, but if our conversation goes longer because it's a good conversation, then we might take a little bit of that time away. I have to let you know that this is being recorded and will be on the City of Longmont YouTube page. It's a public hearing for this funding. And so I'm going to go ahead and introduce the board. I'm going to start with my bottom right. My windows have changed. So I'm going to start with Alejandro first. Oh, you're muted, Alejandro.
Yes, technology. Good evening, Alejandro Prieto. This is my first year on the board.
All right, then Crystal.
Hello, my name is Crystal Prieto. This is also my first term on the board. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet
And-
you. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, and then Martha.
Hi there, Martha Wilson. This is my first year on the board.
Nice to meet you.
Awesome. If you can introduce yourself as quickly as possible, we will start with the question and answer time. I'm the timekeeper, so I'll keep time.
Okay. My name's Melissa O'Hara. I'm the Chief Executive Officer for Hover Senior Living.
I'm Lisa Bryant. I'm the Campus Engagement Director.
Talk loud.
Did you hear me?
Yeah.
Did you hear me? Okay, great.
And I'm Michelle Creekett, and I'm the Chief Financial Officer for Hover Senior Living.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and start the timer. And does any board member have a question? If not, I can start.
Why don't you lead the way?
All right, I'll go ahead and start because I have, so the first thing I'm gonna say is that board and staff look at different parts of the application. I mean, we all look at the whole application, but we have different focuses when we read these applications. And for staff, as what I am, is I really look at your financials, your program budget, your things like that. The board really looks at your programs and who you're serving and how you're serving them, all of that kind of stuff. And so my question, because I have multiple questions, but I'm going to start with my first question is really about the date. So you're a 501c3 is my understanding. But when I look at your fundings, your revenue streams, it is pretty one-dimensional in the sense that a big chunk of your funding is program revenue. And so I'm assuming that's rent or, fees or Medicaid reimbursement for services you provide. And I guess the question I have is around, diversification of revenue, in particular, as you're thinking about new programs and you're working, what are your thoughts on trying to diversify your funding to have that community support for your programs?
Into the CFO.
Right.
That's a good question. So I'll just start by saying we're just trying to, right now we're in the process of, I've been here for 2 months and really just trying to kind of get my arms around what we're doing and what our revenue sources are and getting our financials, cleaned up, the balance sheet and such. And I think, this is starting to look for grants is one of the ways that we're trying to diversify our revenue. And
in addition to running campaign programs for donations from our family members. Where else do we get
Fundraising.
fundraising,
Yes.
events?
Right. Yeah, that's right. We have a lot of things going on, fairly new programs that we have put into place to start this because we definitely want to get our programming off the ground and make a difference, not just here, but out in the community.
Okay, and so that actually leads to my other question. When I look at your program budget, so there's 2 budgets that you all give to us, right? One is your agency budget, and that's where I saw, that the majority of your funds come from your program fees. And then when I look at your program budget, I see that your request, if you were funded fully, represents around 46% of the entire program budget. And I'm just wondering, what are the ideas to diversify that where you're not leaning so much on one, a good fundraiser will tell you, it's like one of those don't have all your eggs in one basket type of situation, right? And so 46% of your program budget would come from the City of Longmont for this specific program. I'm just wondering, are there things that you're doing to help if you don't get this funding? What are your or not fully funded? What are your thoughts on that?
So we're running Hover and Home on our campus as well for our independent living. So we do have funds coming in through that. Our independent living folks, We have right now, that program is being run basically in about 25% of our elders that live there in our independent living. So that's an internal revenue that's coming. No, I was going to say one more thing. Hold on, Alberto. And then as we diversify and move out into the community, just the fees from the actual program to help for us to continue to feed it that way as well.
As well as we have some reserves that we could put towards that. And then, of course, our campaigns that we're doing. So as we're moving towards programming, we're doing 90 days of giving, and we're letting folks know that the areas that we are going to need donations, and we're doing Hover for Generations, which is bringing some funding in as well, to where they can start donating monthly. So we're really working to not just rely on grants in case we don't get them, but also in case we don't get the full amount, and that we can still make our programming happen. It's important to us.
Okay, Alejandro.
Recovery is a lifelong journey, and I'm just wondering, what does your program provide or facilitate for people in recovery?
In recovery,
Our program help folks that are in recovery, which is a lifelong process.
right?
My ex-husband was in recovery, Alejandro. So I think I'll take it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to be bossy. So I think our program, by going in and preparing meals, teaching folks how to eat healthy so that they do have the energy and the health to go out and get jobs, to teach them life skills, to help them, to go in and help and clean their house so that it gives them, and I don't mean to sound sophomoric, but when your house is clean and you have good food to eat, that it gives you the energy and the wherewithal to want to go out and to either get a job or to help yourself in recovery. So I think that's really important. The social aspect, the food aspect, just feeling good about yourself.
So I guess the question, how far along are you on this program? I wasn't sure if I could get that straight from the application. How it running? Is it something that's going to be, it's coming in the near future? Where are you on that?
So I'll start.
And we'll jump in.
Sorry. I'm from Jersey, so we tend to take control. So we have Hover at Home, like I said, in our independent living.
Right.
That's been running. And we just started offering it to families that have their loved ones live in our independent living, our assisted living as well. So that part just started, and we've been speaking at several venues, the senior, what do you call it?
Senior center.
And
HOAs are surrounding us as well.
Yep, in our immediate community around Hover Senior Living, there's townhomes, condos, what's the other one? Duplexes. So we've been invited to their HOAs to talk and present about what we possibly can do at a reduced price for those that are income strapped. And many of our seniors are. They don't have a lot of revenue.
Fixed incomes.
Yeah, they have fixed income. So yeah, so that we just started a couple weeks ago with our flyers. We have 1, 2, I'm counting, 3 folks from the HOAs that have reached out, 2 for house cleaning and 1 for handyman services.
And the amazing piece of this as well is that we have a lot of folks in need of taking care of their animals, right? As they're unable to do that, as they're starting to age and not be able to take the walks, or the weather's getting to where it's slick and they can't do that. So they're calling about that service as well. So we're really able to help in lots of different areas.
Okay. Crystal has a question, and then I have a follow-up to what we just talked about. Go ahead, Crystal.
I was just going to ask you about your demographic population that you serve, and just making sure that it's equitable across the board and the housing that you're providing these seniors. And also to piggyback on that, if you do provide any type of senior living assistance to folks who maybe are undocumented or not eligible for some of the benefits that our seniors would typically be eligible for.
Oh, you want me to? I'm sorry.
Because I'm controlling everything. I don't know what to do that.
So definitely, we're not, we are absolutely here for anyone who needs our services. And available to, go out and take care of whatever their needs are. We don't, we're willing to help anyone throughout the community here in Longmont. That's where we're starting, right? You have to start somewhere, but we want to start here, and, but we're also, there's not anyone that we're not willing to help.
Yeah, we just gave out flyers on this week to a lower income housing complex. So we're hoping to get people to call us from there as well for all of the services that we're offering. Yeah.
Okay. So my follow-up question is the kind of things you mentioned. Not all of that exists, but I guess I was wondering, because I didn't read about partnerships in your application. Like, for example, Cultivate. We interviewed them recently as well, and they do some of the things that you were talking about. And I'm wondering, have you worked with them as you were designing this program, or you thought about working with them as you roll it out?
I think you should say that. Cultivate, actually, yes, we have talking about volunteers and different things that we could be engaged in together. What a great group that is, for sure. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, our time is actually up. Unless the board has one last question, I'll give you your 5 minutes to share, and then we'll be done. All right. I don't think the board has any more questions, so I'll go ahead and give you your 5 minutes.
Okay. What, we have 5 minutes?
You don't have to use it all, but if you want anything you want to share, this is the time you can do it.
Is this our elevator speech?
This is your elevator speech. You got yeah.
You do it.
So Hover Senior Living has been in the community of Longmont, a part of the community of Longmont for 4 decades, giving care to seniors. We know how to do it. We love what we do, and we want to reach so many more. We want to make sure that we're reaching out to folks to help them live independently, not just living here, but also folks who can stay in their own homes and create life for them and help them maintain life.
And our mission, it's actually in our mission to serve those income folks that have fixed incomes. So that is actually part of our mission as well. And actually, if I could add, I know I only have 5 minutes.
Of course.
We are actually one of the only campuses that do take Medicaid for our assisted living. You will not find another assisted living that accepts Medicaid, and that just goes with our mission. And our rents are the lowest as well out of all of our competitors. So that's very important to keep in our mission.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you, board.
Thank you.
And yeah, appreciate your time. Have a good night.
We appreciate you all.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity.
All right. Thank you. Good night.
Right.
All right. So I'm going to send an email out asking